Welcome, science fiction fans, to another installment of That Sci-Fi Guy. G.I. Joe was originally a line of toys from Hasbro that was adapted into a long cartoon show. It was filled with lasers and death machines and supervillains with metal masks, but surprisingly it accumulated no body count. Convenient. In 2007, the gents at Hasbro scored a win with the fairly successful movie adaptation of another popular franchise, The Transformers. Well, after a success like that, of course the studio wanted a sequel, but why stop there? Let's adapt another property. Make G.I. Joe happen. Start prepping the toys. This one was much worse. The movie opens in France in 1641? Just like the old TV show, right? Medieval torture scenes. That's exactly what I want in my kids' movies. We're introduced to a Scottish man holding a gym who has just been found guilty of treason for selling arms to both sides during the war.
I should have charged them double.
This man is James Mccullen. And for those of you who watch G.I. Joe, you probably know what that means.
Clan Mccullen is far greater and more powerful than any of you could ever imagine. It shall not end with my death.
Oh, we are not going to kill you, Mccullen. We are going to make an example of you.
Yes, that would kill him. If not from the lack of good antibiotics at the time, then from his brain literally baking. Jump to the not-too-distant future, and we open to a presentation being hosted by...
We discovered how to program them to do almost anything.
Christopher Eccleston doing a bad Scottish accent? You know, if they wanted the Doctor, they could have just gotten David Tennant. At least he's actually from Scotland.
Are we in Scotland?
Will you identify yourself, sir?
I'm Dr. James Mccullen from the township of Balamory.
His presentation is on a new weapon designed for NATO, nanotech warheads.
I'm pleased to announce that tomorrow morning, your first order of nanotech warheads ships from my factory in Kristian.
Nanotechnology, shortened to nanotech, the study
Dr. Wiki, we covered this. For those of you who didn't already know that James Mccullen the 24th becomes the villain Destro, they show us the Doctor here has the same family gem as the traitor from the beginning of the movie. So instead of showing us why he's evil, they just flat out tell us? Because in a movie, you know, it's always better to be told instead of shown. You know, mystery doesn't add to the story or anything. The plot device warheads are then packed up to be transported to NATO. It's here we meet our heroes. Duke, played by a Chris Evans substitute. Now wait a second. I hate to get nitpicky, but why does he have the white wrapper stubble here? I'd be okay if it was just in these war scenes, but he has it in his dress blues. I guess in the not-too-distant future, the military stops enforcing their shaving policy. And Ripcord, played by Marlon Wayans? Sure, Marlon did play a white chick.
What's up, money? You got a problem? Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hold my poodle.
Anyway, why did they feel they had to make Ripcord black when there are black G.I. Joes they could have used? Ripcord's not even in the show that much. Why not use Doc, Iceberg, Stalker, Zapper, Roadblock? And Roadblock was actually in more episodes than Ripcord. Anyway, as the convoy rides into the night, we reach the first action scene of the movie. Suddenly, an unknown craft obliterates one of the helicopters. No parachutes or anything?
Look, I can see their parachutes. They're okay.
Holy shit? Isn't this movie for kids? Well, this mystery craft begins easily shredding the entire convoy. Wait, stop. The bullets that are just bouncing off of that UFO are 30mm rounds. One's like this. And live ones are made with depleted uranium, hence why they're also known as tank busters. You know what? I'm sensing it's probably time for this again. After the mystery villains have sufficiently laid waste to the convoy, they go out on foot to collect the warheads. But their plans are foiled by...
G.I. Joe, American hero! G.I. Joe is there!
G.I. Joe. What the hell, guys? I know they've got kick-ass armor on and everything, but bullets... Oh, screw it. Never mind. It's here we meet the Baroness. She's got that evil, sexy librarian thing going on for her. Kind of like Sarah Palin, minus the folksy. Hot. We learn that she and Duke had some sort of history together.
Don't move!
Hello, Duke. Now you have to admit, you had that coming.
Don't make me shoot a woman!
And the Joes saved the day. Yay! Duke and Ripcord, the only two survivors from a terrorist attack, that's not suspicious at all, are then invited back to the super secret G.I. Joe base in...
Come see for yourself.
Because that's more dramatic than just saying... Egypt? Was this just leftover footage from the Transformers 2 shoot? They take this time to show us the base, like this pool of water over some kind of cave filled with people shooting things. It's also used to throw in some more characters. Scarlet, played by Rachel Nichols. Snake Eyes, played by Ray Park. General Hawk, played by Dennis Quaid. Heavy Duty, played by, holy shit, how do you pronounce that? Breaker, played by Saeed. Tag, this little Moroccan actor. And what is with Snake Eyes' mask?
He doesn't speak.
If he doesn't talk, then why give him lips? I guess it's just the new way of things. First Optimus Prime, now Snake Eyes. They also use the time to squeeze in some of the required lines.
Knowing is half the battle.
Oh, and a kung fu grip. Oh.
He's a real American hero.
What, is the G.I. Joe logo imprinted on their uniforms too?
An angle he don't want us to catch.
Another toy they needed to fit in were these accelerator suits.
What's it accelerate? You.
Though they spend zero time explaining them beyond, these are expensive and very, very cool. Now take that shit off before you break it. And of course, the movie wouldn't be complete without a training montage, with a special guest cameo by Brendan Fraser? I guess the director knew him from The Mummy? But who's he supposed to be? Is that Sergeant Slaughter? If that's the case, why not get someone who actually looks the part? Maybe a wrestler. You know, The Rock was in The Mummy too. It's not like he was busy. Oh, whatever. And while that's going on, let's have a look at the villains of the movie. In this corner, we have Storm Shadow, played by Byung-Hun Lee. Zartan, played by Arnold Vosloo. And... wait, who is that supposed to be again? Is that Dr. Mindbender? He seems to be a mad scientist, but then again, his face is covered and he has an irritating voice.
20th Neo Viper is already set up in Washington, D.C. and awaiting your signal.
Maybe his supervillain power is making prank calls. Anyway, the villains, just to be an obvious contrast to the Joes in the desert, have their secret lair at the bottom of the sea. Where Dr. Satan here...
Dr. Satan! Ah, Dr. Satan!
Shows us how his nanotech can be used for all kinds of things. Like taking away people's free will.
They feel no fear. Cortical nerve clusters showed complete inactivity.
A cobra, how subtle. The other thing about this movie is that there's a lot of backstory told in flashbacks. A lot. And the really weird thing about them is that there's a pattern. It's almost like a disease passed from one person to another. It starts with the Baroness. Then from the Baroness to Storm Shadow.
Hello, brother.
Then from Storm Shadow to Snake Eyes. Then from Snake Eyes to Duke. And Duke back to the Baroness. I think I just got whiplash. Yeah. Well, enough time wasted with montages and flashbacks. We need another action scene. Has Bugs Bunny joined Cobra?
Well, here we are, Pismo Beach and all the clams we can eat. What a way for a duck to travel. Underground. Since when is Pismo Beach inside a cave?
No, it's actually... The Foot Clan? What the hell, guys? The Joe's base is invaded as the Cobras make another attempt for the case.
And also here.
No wacky hijinks? Like, aren't we supposed to learn a lesson or something? That was brutal! So much for this being a kids' movie. The Cobras get away with the warheads and take them to a civilian laboratory. But I've never seen any kind of civilian lab that looks like that. That looks like something out of Star Trek. They use this big bad science machine here and somehow arm the missiles. They're sparkly. I guess that means they're active. Or vampires. The Joes, however, aren't just going to let the bad guys run off with the warheads, so it's time to bring out the big guns.
Alright, stick to the plan. Scarlet, Snake Eyes take the front. Rip, do take the back. Breaker will be our eyes and ears. I'll give the orders from here. Got it?
Wait, you're bringing like 6 guys and the rookies in accelerator suits? Aren't those warheads, like, really dangerous? You had a whole base full of soldiers. What is this, an away team? And weren't there people who actually trained in those suits for any amount of time before these two showed up? Or were they just brand new and you wanted to show them off? No, I got it. The suits give you cancer, don't they? Yeah, just send the rookies out in them. They won't know any better. What follows is a really pointless, over-the-top action sequence that's clearly just in the movie because they wanted a scene like the one in Transformers. And to sell toys, let's not forget, the rookies managed to crash the Cobra's van. But in the process, they caused a lot of damage. All because...
Told you to read that manual. It's a manual?
I guess maybe they're G.I. Joe training wheels. Storm Shadow then sets out on foot with one of the MacGuffin missiles to cause some real damage. Welcome back, folks! It's time once again for Disaster-O-Matic! No, that doesn't work here. They're in Paris. We know it's gonna be the Eiffel Tower. It could be something else, you don't know. How about the Arc de Triomphe? Or the Notre Dame? Or the Louvre? No, and we know it's gonna be the nano missiles too. It just doesn't work. Just because this movie is a disaster doesn't make it a disaster movie. Duke, being the hero, saves the rest of France from getting eaten, but in turn is captured by the villains. In an attempt to make this failure a little less epic, the Joes try to retrieve some information from a corpse by shoving huge spikes into its brain. Okay, wow. And as if that wasn't disturbing enough, the guy melts right there on screen. It's like they sped up video of a tomato rotting. Dude, that's more brutal than some of the kills in Jason X. Well, their brain shiv technique didn't really help. I guess they should have tried that glove from Torchwood. And the local authorities take them into custody. Due to their total failure, the team is banished from France.
Agreed to let you all go, on the condition that none of you return. Ever.
Never? What do you mean by never? Like never, never, ever?
Forever, forever, ever, forever, ever.
And how much of a failure do you have to be when even France kicks you out? They're about to be kicked off the G.I. Joe team when suddenly...
Hey, is that Mccullen's shadow?
That's the polarized cap.
Oh my.
I said you've been ordered back to the pit. But I didn't say when, and I didn't say which route to take.
To hell with our orders.
So our heroes set out to get their man back and stop the bad guys. The action then relocates to the Cobra's Glacier playset, complete with robotic fish sentries, even further establishing the opposite of the Egyptian desert. The Joes ride in just in time to give us another toy plug.
Oh, that's a night raven. They actually built one.
Looks fast.
While they're drooling over the pretty new jet, the villains fire off the remaining 3 missiles. No! Dang! Snake Eyes, being the badass that he is, jumps into action and takes one of them out right away, leaving 2 missiles still active, and going in 2 different directions. This seems familiar.
There's 2 of them?
Yes, Superman, double jeopardy. Even you with your great speed couldn't stop both of them. While I, on the other hand, could stop them with my detonator.
Okay, well, G.I. Joe's a team, right? So I guess they'll split up and coordinate a defense with the guys back at the base.
Somebody has to get up there and shoot those things down.
Guess that's me.
What? What? Just Ripcord? Are you telling me the reason they put Ripcord in the movie was just so they could have a scene with 2 different missiles going how fast again?
Once at maximum velocity, Mach 5.
Right. And traveling at 2 different directions gets chased down by a single jet? I guess they must have skipped the scene where he flies around the world so fast that he reverses time. And it doesn't stop there. It seems that there's no firing controls in this jet.
It must be voice activated.
Okay.
Voice activated? You just guessed that? Oh, and that's not all. When basic English and Ebonics fails to work...
Shoot! Blast away! Bust the cap!
They guess that seeing as Mccullen is Scottish, the command might be in Celtic.
Tahane, it's Celt, Scottish, for fire.
Okay, got it.
And if he was from Wisconsin, would it have been some kind of cheese terminology? This is so pointless. Why is this in the movie? The levels of sheer luck and absolute improbability are just too high! I can't take it anymore! Meanwhile, while all that retardedness is going on, we also get the final action sequences of the movie, in the form of the inevitable epic showdown between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, as well as the big battle between the Joes and the Cobras. Now wait a second. Did the costume and set departments on this movie just raid the leftover Star Trek props or something? It certainly would explain a lot. Oh, and an action scene is a good place for more plot flashbacks, right? In the final flashback, we learn that the Baroness's supposedly dead brother is actually this mysterious doctor who has an obsession with cobras.
The King Cobra.
See, he was locked in a bomb shelter with Dr. Mindbender, and is now hideously deformed. Okay... After this expositional break, the villain's plan backfires. Literally. Leaving Mccullen's entire head burned, when the continued attack on the station causes everyone to retreat.
I'm gonna get you out of here.
Boy, I haven't seen a delivery quite like that since...
I love you, wife.
Duke escapes in a very Star Wars-esque fashion. While the villains get a rather different scene. See, the Doctor gives the Doctor a dose of nanotech to heal his wounds.
This will only hurt a little. What comes next? More so.
Side effects may include slight abdominal pains. Oh yeah, and turning your head silver. For some reason. And then proclaims...
You will call me Commander.
Now that's more like it. Why wasn't the movie like this from the start? I bet it's gonna kick ass now.
You know, Duke, this has only just begun.
Are you kidding? That's all we get to see of them like that? That's bullshit! But what really bothers me here is that the big base made of ice sinks. Yeah, the ice sinks. And not just parts that have large chunks of metal in them, but chunks like this. You know when you put ice in your drink and the cubes sink to the bottom? No, you don't, because it doesn't fucking happen. I repeat, ice doesn't sink. Fail. After a scene tying up the love story side of the plot, we get some of the cliche staples like everyone's favorite, the walking in a line shot.
Man, we look good.
And the hero's big mugging for the camera shot. We also find out the entire plot of this movie was just one big distraction to replace the president with the villain Zartan, the master of disguise. Really, it's one big cliffhanger. Then suddenly you realize why it's called The Rise of Cobra. It's the next movie that I want to see. Why did they even waste our time with this story? It's like a bad pilot episode. I bet the next movie even has a base that looks like a snake. I can't figure out who this movie is aimed at either. There's just so much death and violence that it can't possibly have been made with children in mind. But if that's the case, then why does every other scene have something crammed in to try to sell a toy? If it's not for kids to watch, then just sell whatever toys you like. It doesn't matter if it was actually in the movie. It's not like that's ever stopped you before. Or maybe it was for this guy.
Listen up, maggot! This movie was great! The explosions, the fighting, that's what combat is all about. When we go into a theater, that's what we want to see. We want to see combat. And the toys! Look at these toys! When boys get older, we don't stop playing with toys, the toys just get bigger. These are great toys, combat toys, fighter jets, guns, figures. That's what we want to see.
Guy.
Sorry, I was just remembering that time that I reviewed G.I. Joe. Funny, all I really remember about that movie was that it had some okay action sequences mixed in with a lot of crappy plot. Anyway, welcome science fiction fans to another installment of that sci-fi. Oh, and here's your sci-fi clip of the day.
Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made. Spaceballs the t-shirt, Spaceballs the coloring book, Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs the breakfast cereal, Spaceballs the flamethrower. Bet kids love this one.